Today marks the 49th anniversary of Bruce Lee's tragic death from a cerebral edema. He left behind a loving family, long-lasting legacy and millions from his incredibly successful career both in and outside of Hollywood. Almost half a decade after his death, Lee is still a cultural icon and maintained his status as one of the most influential martial artists of all time. Lee had an estimated $10 million, £8. 3 million, net worth, adjusted for inflation, at the time of his death, as well as 2 young children and a wife he left behind. His son Brandon, who was 8 at the time, was taught martial arts by Lee and would go on set with the star, which prompted his own career in the industry. Meanwhile, Lee's daughter Shannon was only 4 when he died, but she would go on to follow her father's martial arts footsteps, studying under one of his former students. It is believed his wife, Linda Lee Cadwell, inherited most of Lee's wealth after his death and earned royalties from his posthumous film releases. Lee started accumulating his $10 million, £8. 3 million, wealth when he was very young, having gotten his first on-screen role at barely a year old. He would continue his acting career throughout his childhood, having 20 films under his belt by the time he turned 18. However, he also grew up in an increasingly dangerous area of Hong Kong, which prompted his parents to get him martial arts training and would unintentionally create the world's most renowned martial artist as a result. After moving to the United States as a teenager, Lee attended the University of Washington in 1959 where he would meet his wife. Lee would also start his first martial arts school around the same time, the Jun Fan Kung Fu Institute in Seattle, and steadily expand the business, offering a technique he had developed that was more inclined to street fighting than formal technicalities. Caldwell and Lee would get married in secret in 1964 and a few years later, Lee would make his American television debut. While the story and fortune Lee accumulated in just 32 years is already incredible, he supposedly saw it coming. In 1969, Lee outlined his future in a letter to himself, most of which he would accomplish before his death just 4 years later. The letter, formed of affirmations and goals, stated Lee would be the first highest-paid Oriental superstar in the United States. Don't miss, it continues to affirm that he would achieve worldwide renown and fame, then build his fortune. Unfortunately, one aspect he would get wrong would be pinning. Till the end of 1980 I will have in my possession $10 million, £8. 3 million. Lee died in 1973, but had already achieved the $10 million, £8. 3 million, goal he had set. Lastly, the letter notes, "I will live the way I please and achieve inner harmony and happiness." The incredible action movie star seemed invincible on screen, so much so that the hospital staff who would see his last moments thought the situation was a joke at first. A month prior to his death, Lee had collapsed at a session for what would be his final film released after his death. The star was rushed to hospital and diagnosed with a cerebral edema or swelling of the brain, which doctors were able to alleviate. Then, on July 20 in Hong Kong, after taking a painkiller for a headache, Lee would go for a nap and never wake up. Rumors immediately flooded the sudden circumstances of Lee's death, which was ruled a death by misadventure,